Good morning, Nigeria, and welcome to Let's Talk Nigeria on Golden 97.5 FM, the space where ideas meet reality and where national conversations begin. And of course, we are the Gold Sounder Radio. I'm Moya Stiving.
And I am Paul Oblomubasa.
I'm glad to have you with us today as we turn our attention to a proposal that has stirred debate across political, academic, and civic circles. This morning we're looking at Governor Mohammed Umaru Bago's advocacy for a single-term tenure for governors in Nigeria. In a country where governors' reforms are often discussed but rarely implemented, Governor Bago's call challenges one of the most entrenched features of our democratic system: the two-term, four-year tenure currently provided by the Constitution. His argument, as presented in public forums, is that a single longer term for governors could reduce the distractions of re-election politics, curb the excessive costs of elections, and allow leaders to focus squarely on governance rather than survival. On the surface, this sounds like a bold attempt to rethink how power is exercised and how development is pursued in Nigeria. But as with every reform proposal, the real question is not just what is being proposed, but why, how, and for whose benefit. Nigeria's democratic journey has been shaped by a painful history of prolonged rule, abuse of power, and limited accountability. Term limits were introduced as safeguards, guardrails designed to prevent the concentration of power and to give citizens the periodic opportunity to reward performance or punish failure at the ballot box. Any proposal that seeks to alter this balance naturally invites scrutiny.
Okay, so now let us look at it in different dimensions. We have to understand what the current system is all about. Under the 1999 Constitution as amended, a governor serves 4 years. And the next is that he may be re-elected once. And you know already most governors begin re-election calculations by the second year in office. So campaigns, political negotiations, and power struggles often take precedence over policy delivery. So now, at what point do governors stop governing and start campaigning? You also look at it. For those that are supporters of the Governor Bago's proposal, they make several arguments, saying, number one, governance without distraction. It means you could just center on giving governance and remove any other distraction of re-election pressure. Also, to allow the governors to focus solely on development, reduce political compromises and godfatherism. Okay, now, imagine a governor who does not need your vote again. Will it govern better or worse? That is a question, and it's left for you, the listener, to put that in perspective.
Well, critics, however, warn of the risks. Without the pressure of re-election, how do citizens hold governors accountable? Some ask that question. In a system already struggling with weak institutions, would a single term reduce oversight or embolden executive excesses? There are also constitutional, political, and practical questions. How long should such a term be? Would it apply to sitting governors? And can this reform work in isolation without strengthening anti-corruption agencies, legislatures, and the judiciary? Now, these are not abstract questions. They strike at the heart of Nigeria's democratic future. So this morning on Let's Talk Nigeria, we're not here to take sides, prematurely. We are here to assess, to interrogate, and to listen. Is Governor Bago's proposal a visionary reform for better governance, or a well-intentioned idea that may carry unintended consequences? As always, the conversation belongs to you. Stay tuned, stay engaged, because this is Let's Talk Nigeria. Yes, indeed. We're looking this morning at the comments of Governor Bago of Niger State, where he advocates for single term tenure for governors in Nigeria. Well, the governor, he has already spent 2 years in his first term in office and did not, however, recommend the duration of the single term or the effective year for the takeoff anyway. But Babago, who spoke at the swearing of newly appointed commissioners and new local government council chairmen and their deputies, as well as some permanent secretaries and members of some boards and agencies, observed that looking for a second term in office is a hindrance towards taking some decisive decisions that would move the state forward. So, to you that's listening right now, do you agree with Bago? If forward, but I dare not because of fear that taking such decisions would affect my victory in 2027. Can you hear Bago speak right now? He said, for example, some people who failed examinations and should have been sanctioned one way or the other could not be punished because of second term ambition. Do you agree with Bago? And then he went on to say, I am an advocate of a single term for governors. Everything in Niger State is being politicized, and because of this, more decisive actions cannot be taken. Does this apply to all the governors in Nigeria? I'm asking this question now. Now, he went on to say, there are some people I want to sack, but I cannot. As the governor, I'm preoccupied with the search for a second term in office, and as a result, governors is suffering, and this is why one term is better to serve, because you will be more focused from the beginning to the end of your one term tenure. And that was what he said. And I'll go on, Paul, before you speak.
Yeah.
He said, and I quote, in the past, the forests across the state were safe for members of the Boy Scouts to go for expedition, but that is not the case now. The forests are now being used as hideouts by bandits, and that is why kidnapping and abduction are strange to us in Niger. So if he were to be the governor and he has only one term, he would have gone all out, according to him now. He said, I urge you all to rise to the challenge at hand and pray for the rescue of the remaining abducted Papiri school children and their teachers, and for the peace to return to all parts of the state. So he was just speaking in different areas and all of that. But the issue has been made clear. He would have loved to take some decisions, but he couldn't because he is preoccupied about his second term. That is what he said is affecting many governors, if not all the governors in Nigeria. So the question now is to the listeners, do you think Bago is speaking your mind or not?
Okay, so now let's while we're looking at, we'll look at the arguments supporting the single term tenure and those that are also against. Let's look at something. It says governors without distraction. I made mention of that. Then you said reducing cost of elections. If elections in Nigeria cost billions of naira, a single term could reduce frequency of elections, lessen security deployments, cut down election litigation. That is money. Because Nigeria spends heavily on elections while struggling with healthcare, education, and infrastructure on one part. And it also weakens incumbency abuse. A single term tenure could reduce abuse of state resources, electoral intimidation, arguments against single term tenure. They said it's going to be the loss of electoral accountability, because re-election is one of the strongest tools citizens have to reward good performance and punish failure. Question is, like some person said, remember the 4+4? That was the former President Buhari's, Muhammadu Buhari's mantra. Say if someone, politicians come up with the fact that if someone does well, you have to promote him and give him another, give him another. So that they are saying that if you re-election is like a way of rewarding good performance. I don't know how it does. Really
why don't you leave when the ovation is
Thank
loudest?
Thank you.
You
That's
don't have
so,
to reward it.
And but you said, well, without that, governors may feel without our option, governors may feel untouchable. Now, if a governor knows he's leaving anyway, who truly holds him accountable? That is one question.
The assembly is there to impeach you.
Okay, Okay. So now, critics fear that governors may lose urgency, may focus on personal legal. Okay, I'm supposed to be attending to some arrest and raise up some things, but because of my second tenure, I'm allowing the slide. That is another conversation. But now, in the midst of all of these different things, the question is this proposal really, really genuine? Is it germane for us right now? And is it,
Especially when it has to do with weak institutions.
do you understand? So is it politically convenient for current office holders? Because they're going to be the ones to say, okay, let's accept to it or not. Is it going to be very comfortable for them, knowing that if they attest to it, it's going to affect them?
Let's go for a short commercial break. We'll be back to continue with the conversation.
1.5 Golden FM, the gold standard of radio.
My correct people, they say man will not get God na gororo. Yes, countryman. Oh yeah, make you listen to this one. Doxa Family Church Incorporated don't knock 25 years. 25 years, not be 25 naira. Countryman, come celebrate with Doxa Family Church Incorporated. This one, Ego Shele on Sunday, 21st December 2025. Time 8 a.m. Venue for this junction. Guest speaker will go give us the word of God on top this anniversary celebration. Now Bishop Emmanuel Bob Manuel. Host clergy we go arrange every country people. Now Reverend T.Y. Emmanuel, senior pastor, person where they put hand for this message to tell you and say yes, you don't need 25 years, more gonna come chop and celebrate. Dance with God. Said yes, 25 years. Now Papa God na do am. Now Pastor Isaac Allen, resident pastor, now put hand for this message. Country people, Doxa Family Church Incorporated, they celebrate their 25 years. Hip hip hip. Hooray!
Shining brighter than ever. 97.5 FM, the gold standard of radio.
All right, welcome back to Let's Talk Nigeria, where we are assessing Governor Bago's advocacy for single-term tenure for governors in Nigeria, and we are asking if that is feasible, how possible would that be, and if that is the best for our democracy right now. How long should such a term be? Would it apply to sitting governors? And can this reform work in isolation without strengthening anti-corruption agency, legislatures, and the judiciary? These are some of the questions we are asking. Paul, you were speaking before we went for the break.
Yes, so in the midst of all of the different conversations, the argument, like we said, arguments for and against, but we're looking at those that are against the single term, and but so some person are also looking at something for time constraint for development. Because some areas they say that you might not be able to use. I don't know the time frame. For now, we're using hypothetically 4 years. Can use 4 years to do some development on normative, because many projects, including roads, education reforms, health systems, require more than one term to mature. That is what some persons ask, the argument they're bringing. But if you want to do something, you could do it.
Great policies. You don't need to spend so many years.
Thank you.
When you listen to Mel for the Kilo,
yes,
the Blessed Memories. I remember it just. I think he won a second term, but then of course the Buhari military regime. Well, there was a coup plot, and then ousted them, terminated the flow. So it's just like 4 years, and he was able to achieve a lot. What about the very first governor of River State? I mean, the military governor.
Yeah.
They had to speak at the time.
Yes.
You could experience that. It was a short time, but you was able to touch.
Some of our leaders they learn in the field, but you're supposed to have all of the things that you're prepared for. You should be prepared
as you're coming in.
You hit the ground running. So now so with all of these different things now, can 5 or 6 years truly transform a state? And that's another question we're asking. If we're looking at,
well, if you put in the work, your successor will continue from where you stopped.
Thank you. So others also arguing that the real problem is not even about tenure length, but weak institutions and lack of accountability.
That's where I'm going.
So are we treating the symptom instead of the disease? So that's the thing.
I think what we're looking at is the disease. Not the symptom, because if you have to fix the symptoms, right, you fix it before the time, but what we need to do, we go back to the drawing board and start fixing the symptoms, or the other way around. Sometimes you're not sure of what the symptoms are, You just feel like, okay, this thing, but it's not malaria. It could be another thing, showing you that it's malaria because it has the symptoms of malaria. So some will argue that let's go straight up to fixing the disease, straight up to identify the issue and diagnose it, know that this is exactly malaria, and you treat the malaria.
So in this treatment, it also means that if we have our institutions independent of anything that will hold people accountable, and you have structures, workable structures, systemic thinking, all of these things are already there. Whether you are, it doesn't matter who comes on board. As you come, the system is already there. It's already tailored towards success. We can have the right things happen in Nigeria.
And then, of course, the governors will not be excessive in the way they go about it. They know they're coming with a
Word.
plan. They have the plan as they're coming in, they're executing it. And that's why anybody who is, has the ambition of becoming the governor at a time, you need to begin to draw how you want to go about it.
True.
So you are coming in with your template, with your plan. Immediately you coming, you hit the ground running, and you go in to start doing it. Immediately you have the funds to do it. You start, bringing in the kind of things that you want to, which are in line with what the people want. Because I believe that many of the governors don't do all of this. They just want to become governors. It is when they get in there they begin to draw plans. But if you have the ambition of becoming a governor in 2027, that means you have to constitute your team and start working towards it,
True.
coming up with plans.